Shut up and sit down.
I'm totally gonna go vegan this season.
My mind's on fire, so I ride my bike. I'm riding harder than a hurricane. Love is
You shaved your legs? Does shaving your legs really make a difference? Man, shaved legs make such a difference. Look at that guy with the hairy legs.
I saw the old you for a second there. My mother made me.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Turing. Optional listening required. Enjoy episode 104.
My mind and get that runner's high.
I'm totally going vegetarian this season. Eating is cheating, man. I think protein's really gonna help me out in my season. Hey man, do you have a gel?
That runner's high. Babe, I think I found what it means to be alive.
Do you guys have some lube I can borrow?
Hi, and welcome back to the Dialed Podcast. I am Jake Von Turing, and I'm here with Evan Price.
Oh wow, I'm first this time.
First.
This is throwing me off. I was almost gonna do Lance's intro there for a second, just instinctually.
You should have.
I was gonna call myself Romance there for a second. I today am drinking an energy drink, and I started this new little chocolate organic protein thing because Cassie's been telling me I don't eat enough protein, and I'm starting to wither away. So I'm trying purely inspired organic protein. Its flavor is decadent chocolate. To be honest, it's way too much chocolate. Entirely too much chocolate. But it has 2 grams of net carbs and 20 grams of protein. Plant-based.
You can smell it.
I know. I'm basically vegan right now. This is about as vegan as I'll get. This is as close to Lance Hepler as I'll get. But
I'm telling you, you gotta make the switch. Life is good.
yeah, that's okay. I think. Well, I'm almost vegan, except for last night I had hamburgers and a meat pizza on Saturday, and then Friday I had chicken and rice. But outside of that, basically vegan.
Okay, yeah.
Hallelujah.
That's
Use them
not
all
how
up
it
early.
works.
That voice, you know him, you love him. Mr. Lance Hepler.
Lance Romance. I'm not sure I'm really that loved. I think I'm more hated than loved, and I can deal with that. So
You want people
What's
to
up?
be scared of how much they love you, right? Michael Scott.
I want you to love me so much it
You
hurts.
hate me, yeah. You hate how much you love me.
And everybody's favorite, Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? How are you guys doing? You guys look fantastic, and I'm quite scared of how much I love Lance.
Oh yeah, there we go. Now
There you
I
go.
feel better.
There it is.
Awesome. Let's see here. Who do we want to start with the backpedal today? God, there's so many different things that have gone on. Evan, I'm going to take you first again today.
This is where, I want to leave this open for Birthday Boy. And Birthday Boy over here is Jake Von Turing, who was not going to share that it was his birthday, I'm sure, on this podcast today. He's one of those secret birthday people, I feel like. He just quietly has a birthday and hopes that nobody will notice.
I was done having them about 11 years ago, so I don't know what the big
Are you
whoop
30?
is.
Like I've told you, I'm planning on being 30 for at least another decade.
I'll be there with you.
Yeah, there you go. Me and Jake are the same age. Yeah. Backpedal wise, not too much. Had a pretty relaxing weekend. We babysat another dog, which was great. Little blue heeler named Scout. Very high energy dog. Very high energy.
What's up? Did you guys open up another business? Or
I think
something like
so.
that?
I think we're getting so lonely during COVID. We're just bring us your dogs. We'll just if you need a breather from your dog at home,
How
just
about
bring it over.
kids? You guys want some kids?
No, that's okay. I think we draw the line at as soon as it's not an animal anymore. So.
Dang it. I was going to drop 3 of them off for you.
Pets only. Yeah. No. Jake's kids are great. I would. And your daughter just ran her first 5K.
She did.
Didn't she?
Yeah.
I'm taking Jake's backpedaler. Your backpedaler will be way more interesting than mine this week. I trained some. Woke up on Thursday and did the Thursday morning Worlds ride is is really a smattering following right now of about 4 people at a time. So if you're really...
Well, you're up to 4 people. That's huge. I thought you were stuck at 2.
we had...
Given that it's at 4:30 in the morning, that's pretty good.
I know. I got a message from David Busey. Do you guys know David?
Yeah.
I've never actually met David in person, but seems like a super, super nice guy. But he was giving me some very helpful tips on how to make a Zwift
He was
ride.
at your Everesting challenge. I'm sure you've met him before.
Oh, was okay, yeah. Oh, no. I do know who it is now. Yes, okay. Very nice
awesome.
guy. Yeah, and he's organizes a very well put together Zwift ride on Friday mornings at like 4:15 a.m.
Yeah, he's
like 100
he's on our
people in that
team, but
group.
he's also a big. I think he's on the board or the founding fathers or whatever it is for the team ODZ. Which is,
ODZ, gotcha. That's where
it's like one of the biggest online teams.
Oh yeah. So he's got a very solid following and a good 4:15 a.m. ride. So I have no excuses. I just don't organize Zwift rides super well. Might be a timing thing.
I think so.
But yeah, outside of that, just chugging along. Almost to Thanksgiving here. My favorite holiday.
Cool. Matt, backpedal, bud.
Yeah, my knee was bugging me a good bit this past week because Evan pushed me too hard in our whatever class. I don't know what you're calling those classes, Evan. I was gonna call it a fitness class, but
It's
that is gonna date me.
Survival classes is what we call them.
Survival class.
And
And
teach you how to crawl on the ground and jump over boxes.
This week, but I did not miss any days, and I rode Zwift. I think 6 out of the 7 days. So there's something there, and I rode outside once, and it was like trying to get a ride in before the rain started, and it got rained on or whatever. But it wasn't a big deal. But at least I got outside once. I figure. I also swam twice, which is all I can really fit in with the schedule that they have for the pool in my current work schedule. And I ran twice, which was not great. My Achilles is still mangled. It's hanging on by a thread.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Matt, were you? Do you know if Lacamas is going to remain swimmers open for the way they're still doing it by appointment?
So the state of as of the recording of this video, the state of Washington is in a bit more of a lockdown situation, or technically it's tonight it goes into more of a lockdown situation. So
it's midnight.
Bars
tonight,
and restaurants and things like that are getting a little bit more tight, and gyms are going to be closed. Technically, this is an outdoor pool, so it wasn't specifically closed. So as far as we know, as of the recording of this podcast, it is going to be open for swimming. I can't imagine that's going to last long, but I don't know.
Huh. Weird times again.
Weird times.
So Matt,
again.
you want to swim open water with me? Me and Josh were talking about it. We're
actually, yeah, we did. We talked about that at that fitness class thing.
Yeah.
I need to test some unannounced products, and
nice.
I need to jump on it and do some open water swimming because I was gonna do that this weekend, but it's pretty gross out. It's all the stuff. It's I need to swim, bike, and run, and it's really not nice outside. It was hailing outside during my run yesterday.
Yeah.
Really gross, but whatever. I mean, Evan, you're gonna go out and do it anyway, right? So might as well.
Yeah. I mean, we're probably just planning on once a week swimming right now and on Saturdays. I'm gonna have to amp myself up for 5 days each week just to get prepared to jump into the Columbia at these temperatures. It'll be great though. It'll be learning to survival swim instead of training for swimming. It's okay, if you're in a bad situation and you fall off a boat and the boat goes away and it's, December, are you going to be okay? Which I think is more useful training than 10 by 100.
Yeah, way more useful. I think I'll probably do the opposite and bundle up, with 4, put on 3 or 4 layers of wetsuits and then a couple of skull caps, just some things like that to really keep warm before getting in that water. I'm not that good at swimming in the cold water, so we'll see how it goes.
We should do a video of you bundled up like a true triathlete going for a cold water swim, and then I'll be guy who just fell off boat, and I'll be wearing jeans and a sweater, and then we'll see who makes it to the beach first.
A man thong, and I think we get the video, the hits and the views will go up if we can get you wearing minimum amount of clothing.
And as long as I don't die, you can post it on YouTube. So
There's
Right.
a Seinfeld quote in there somewhere about the water being cold. I don't know.
Oh yes.
True.
I know the exact episode you're talking about.
Shrinkage, something.
George
I don't know. We'll
Costanza.
figure
Yeah,
out
George.
the title.
That's a
We always
great
figure out
George
the title
quote.
last for these videos.
All righty. Is that it, Matt?
Sure.
Sure.
Was that technically a backpedal?
I don't know, man. My backpedals are so boring. I actually think that, I mean, besides Lance, like I feel like a lot of our backpedals get a little bit boring during the wintertime. Because it used to be that it was like we're talking about races and stuff like that. Now I'm lucky to even talk about an outdoor ride at all. So
Yeah.
Do you know what time of year, guys, it almost is? Do you remember when COVID quarantining first started? I was very passionate about reporting on Zwift racing. I believe we are closing in on when Champ is going to need to take a back seat, and we're going to have to start reporting on actual Zwift racing here again.
Oh, nothing could make me sadder. If that's
Lance,
the
I know
case.
you're so excited for this time of year where we get to virtually not actually race our bikes. But
Hey, Lance, why don't you backpedal now?
Well, I did do some riding this last week. I rode every day outside.
what number are we on, Lance?
I think we're on
90.
I think we're on 90 today. This morning was 90.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So 10 more days to go in our 100-day challenge. I had lots of really good rides. I think last week I was in St. George. Was I in St. George when we recorded last week? St.
Yeah.
George?
Yeah, you were.
Sure.
So right now, Brandy, my wife and I are in Mendocino, California. It's on the northern coast of California. Absolutely beautiful out here. We've kind of worked our way this direction. We spent another day in St. George. I did some mountain bike riding around there. We had a funny kind of event. I've talked about my friend Cam, who is a pilot for Southwest Airlines, and he owns his own little tiny prop 2-seater airplane.
Yep.
And my wife and I were camping out in the desert, right on the border of Arizona and Utah, and Cam buzzed us in his plane. We follow each other on Find My Friends, so he could see where I was at, and he went out early in the morning, got in his plane, and all of a sudden you could see this plane flying really low, and it comes around the corner, and my wife's like, Lance, that plane is pretty low. And I'm like, yeah, that's Cam. and sure enough, he flew over the top of our van like 30 feet off the ground. It was pretty hilarious. And then he called me, and then we laughed at each other, and then I took a bunch of videos. So that was pretty
Still
fun.
waiting for him to throw some water balloons at you or something.
He should have. He was concentrating on not crashing into the mountain that we were next to. So I'm glad he didn't.
From now on, are you going to start picking your camp spots by like being like underneath a tree or like coverage from?
It was like this awesome highlight. It was really cool that he found us and buzzed us. So that was kind of cool. From there, we drove into Zion National Park, and my wife and I did a little ride through Zion National Park through the canyon, which was fantastic. It's wintertime. There's very few people there, but it was super cold. But we really very much enjoyed that. That was nice. From Zion, we went to Las Vegas. I stayed with my buddy and friend of the podcast, Ryan Lee. In Vegas, I did some mountain biking with Ryan. I got to take him out on his brand new sparkly orange mountain bike. So we did some mountain biking out there. I did some road riding out there, which was very nice. My wife and I, we had a great time. From there, we drove to a little town called Beatty, Nevada, which is about 2 hours north. And there's a guy that has put in all these mountain bike trails around Beatty. He's trying to make it kind of a hot spot. But it's really cool. He built all these trails. It's actually very close to Area 51 in Nevada. So there's actually a spot where you have to turn around because if you go further, you're in it's just not good. So, but he built these trailheads. He put in like bathrooms and showers for the mountain bikers, all free for use. You can donate if you want to. So we had a great time there. I did manage to crash on my mountain bike there. I was following Brandy. Brandy was mountain biking with me, and I'm riding with one hand and taking a photo with my iPhone, trying to take a photo and I hit a rock and went right over the handlebars. So brilliant.
Did the phone break?
I saw some scratches on your hand. Are you hurt anywhere else?
No. I took some skin off my hand. I actually hit my head, but I
There's
had
nothing
the helmet
important
on.
there, don't worry.
Yes, so that was no big deal.
That's a lost cause already. Yeah.
So we had a good time there. From Beatty, we drove into Death Valley National Park, and we did a little hike through the sand dunes there, which was fantastic. We ended up in the next night. We went to Bishop, California. I don't know if you guys know where that is. It's like the jumping off point if you're going to climb Mount Whitney, or if you're going to do anything in the Eastern Sierras or go to Yosemite. There was a lot of snow on the ground around Bishop. We drove into Mammoth Lakes. We did some mountain biking around there and just had a fantastic time.
That is one of my favorite places on the planet, Mammoth Lakes. It's just incredible.
Jake, did you say you used to go there in high school, like to snowboard?
Yeah, well, probably started going there when I was in like early high school and went there, all the way up until I think the last time I was there was like 2011-ish. I had a pretty bad snowboarding accident and kind of gave up snowboarding after that because I was not much use to my family. I have too many accidents. But yeah, I used to go there all the time. I had season passes. We would drive up after work on Friday. We would get off work at like 6 o'clock, go pack up the car. It's about a 4.5-hour drive from where I used to live, and we would be up there close to midnight, and we would generally sleep in the car and go snowboarding all weekend and be back home on Sunday night. That was a very regular thing. So.
Well, the mountain biking around there is phenomenal, but all the trails were covered in snow.
Yeah.
So we rode a different trail across the valley that wasn't covered in snow, there was still snow on the ground, but it was rideable. So that was kind of nice. From there, my wife and I had this absolute treat. We drove to Petaluma, California, which is in Sonoma County, Marin County, north of San Francisco. You guys may know Yuri Hosvold. He is a former, back when it was called Dirty Kansas, it's now called Unbound Gravel. I think that's the new name for the gravel race that happens around Emporia, Kansas. He won it back in 2015. We become friends because I raced with him at Rebecca's Private Idaho. And at the Oregon Trail Gravel Grinder, so we kind of become friends. And I just texted him and said, "Hey Yuri, I'm actually nearby. Are you gonna ride tomorrow? Let's ride if you're gonna ride." And he was like, "What?" He was like, "F yeah, bro, come on over." He's like, "Yeah, what do you want to do? Road, gravel, whatever." And I'm like, "Whatever you're gonna do." And so he took me on a 70-mile road loop around Sonoma County and Marin County and down near Dillon Beach and along the coastline and through. Oh my gosh, I just had like this fantastic 4 hours, just me and Yuri riding together. It was the kind of the highlight of the trip to be able to spend that time with him. And he was really cool about it all. And his mother's very cool. Yuri's mother, she's 80 years old. She's a firecracker. My wife just loves his mother. And so she spent time with the mom while I was riding with Yuri.
No, you just said her age. You don't know her age.
I don't know her age for sure. I'm in trouble. She's probably not going to listen to this, Brandy, but who knows? Anyway, so that was fantastic. From there, we came up the coastline last night and we stopped in a little town called Mendocino, and it's beautiful here right now. The weather's coming in tonight, so I don't know, lots of stuff happening. I did a gravel ride this morning around here, which was just off the hook. I just had a great time. Anyway, I know you guys are stuck in the rain up there. I'm coming to join you so that you won't hate me so much.
I hate you so much right now.
The
riding. Boo, Lance. But seriously, that ride with Yuri, I'm looking at the pictures. That looks awesome. I was stalking that ride this morning. It looked incredible.
We just had a great time. We just had a great time. He puts on a race called the Bantam Classic every year. It's a road race that starts in Petaluma, and he's had a lot of big hitters come do the race, and so he just showed me part of the course and all the cool climbs, and it was just fantastic. So that was my week. It was way good. I had just a great week. We have really stayed away from people because the rise in COVID. Even with Yuri, we had masks on most of the time, unless we were eating the pastries or we were more than 6 feet away, so it was good.
Sounds pretty fun.
Yeah. Questions about any of that? Let me answer your questions. No.
How do I do that and not here right now?
Oh, that's easy, dude. All you do is you work for 20 years, about 70 hours a week.
Sell highly successful medical clinics. And then
you sell everything, you invest all the money, and then your time is your own.
So I got like a 30-year plan.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, good. So I'm only 30 years away from that. Good.
Awesome. I think my week sounds a lot like Matt's. I rode on Zwift way too much. And did one ride outside all by myself.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
I will say the Pacer bots at least are making Zwift not obnoxiously awfully boring all the time. Like they at least add something that can make a long ride not as terrible.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I did ride with them, I think, twice this past week. So if you have an idea of what you're supposed to be getting your workout at, and if you're just trying to hold steady watts and you want to go at a certain pace, and you know that you want to like just not go into erg mode, you want to kind of be somewhat engaged with it or maybe have a little bit of fun with it. Like Dr. Handel told me, he's like, hey, this is the workout that I like to do. He's like, I'll go pick out whichever ride I want to do that particular day with the Pacer bots, and then I will get warmed up, and then I'll basically break off the front.
Yep.
See how long you can hold them off the front.
Settle in every single time they catch you. Yeah.
Or settle in, but just don't ever let them catch you. So
that's the Handel.
That's why that guy's so stinking fast. But
so Handel basically just does his race strategy each day. He's like, just break away from the beginning and don't let them catch you.
Pretty much. So I've done that a few times, and that's a fun ride.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's just kind of like a little bit monotonous right now. I think the fact that this whole work thing keeps getting in the way of riding during the day, that's kind of a bummer during the week. I need to figure something out. I got to get on the Evan Price lunch training schedule somehow.
Yeah, the lunch training schedule started to skinny down, but yeah, it's great to be able to fit that in, especially when it starts getting dark in the evening too.
If you can only fit it in even like once or twice a week, that still makes a big difference. Like back in the day,
even just 45 minutes. Yeah,
Matt and I used to ride together all the time at lunchtime. It was like sometime between like 11:30 and 1 o'clock, I was going to get a text message from Matt at least 2 or 3 times a week, like, "Hey, want to go for a ride?" Yep, be ready in 5.
Yep.
We haven't done that in a while, so.
Jake, tell us about your ride yesterday. You went for you did a lake in Oregon and a lake in Washington all in one ride.
Yeah, it was the MPC ride.
Oh, that's what MPC stood. Me and Cassie were trying to wonder what the heck MPC stood for.
Mile per candle.
That's what we were taking. Our guesses were not even close. We were not even close to miles per candle.
I was thinking it was like mile per calendar year. I don't know. I
that
give
works
up.
too. Mile per candle. I've done that for. I think this was the 11th year in a row that I've done that on my birthday. So
nice.
I think once I hit 50 though, I don't even want to say that out loud. That Lance, does that hurt?
No, dude, 50 is awesome.
I think when I hit 50, though, I'm going to have to adopt the Lance Epler mantra of like getting out of town and go ride in sunny or warmer places. Because riding in the Pacific Northwest in the middle of November, it can be kind of cold and wet and crappy. So I don't know if I'm going to be wanting to do that when I get a little bit older. So I need to maybe think about doing some sort of birthday adventure. Should be fun.
I need to roll the window down because I'm getting kind of hot here in the van with the sun beating on it. So
you can smell it.
Oh man! You didn't think Jake was going to be able to use that one, but he found a spot for that one.
Good times. Cool. Let's see here. What's next? I think we're done with that whole thing. Hey.
Champ Bailey, top 5. I think he's in the top 5 discussion. I mean, I'm not just going to go out crazy. Hall of Famer. Top 3. Hall of Famer.
Champ Bailey. Champ Bailey by Champ Bailey.
Champ Bailey, are you in the house?
Champ Bailey is right here sitting on some cliff in Mendocino, California. What's up?
Not much, Champ. How's it been? Hey, Champ,
Well-
would you like some background music for your little lead out?
Hey, let's hear some background music.
Bring it to us, Champ. What's cracking?
All right, so in racing news this week, nothing happened. Back to you.
That's right. There's no racing at all.
There's no racing. There were a couple cyclocross races that happened, but they were kind of sparsely attended. And other than that, there's really no other racing going on. The only thing I saw on the news that was worthy of note to me was that Strava just landed another $110 million in financing. And so
Dang.
we're hoping that they'll be able to build some more wish list features that people want with that, improve the technology, and just make the whole service better. So since I'm a bit of a Strava-holic, I'm hoping that money goes to good use. So
Anything in particular that you would like to see?
110 million. Man.
110 million.
What would be a wish? Yeah.
I'd like better routing to happen on Strava. I'd like there to be able to excuse yourself from just certain segments or certain sections. You don't have to. Yeah. So say you're drafting a vehicle for a segment and that's not really kosher for leaderboards. It'd be better to just excuse yourself from that specific segment without having to hack your ride into pieces. But I don't know. What about you?
That's the big one right there for me. Like being able to kind of have the ability just to bow out from a segment because you sat on somebody's wheel and you didn't deserve it, or a car or anything like that. It would be awesome. Like a good sportsman button, if you will. I'd love to see that. So I don't know if that costs $110 million, but if it does, I mean, Matt, teach me how to do that program
I'll
real
do
quick.
it for $107 million.
Yeah.
There you go, Matt. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
No,
You'll
give
save a
him,
lot of money. Just have me do it for you.
give him the friends and family discount, Matt. 104 million. Okay.
104? Okay, 104.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they can't do threaded comments. Like, that's ridiculous by now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see a bunch of cool little features coming out.
Also, why are they not playing me music and cheering me on as I'm going for a KOM? I mean, Garmin and Wahoo can hook up to your Bluetoothy headphone thingies, right?
Yeah, it sounds technical, Evan.
Hold on, no. We're gonna go down this because there's not enough racing to talk about right now. So would there be a way that Garmin you could download into your Garmin Edge and then it play music into your headphones? And if you're going for a KOM, you could have a KOM playlist.
You could actually do that.
How much would that cost? 110 million?
No. It would be on the Garmin side though, because Garmin would Garmin knows about when you're on a KOM segment or whatever, and then they have access. They have something called Garmin Music, which is music on the device, but then they also have access to your smartphone, and they could press play or whatever if you had something set up.
Yeah, and it could be a playlist that you set up for your KOM attempts. That
That'd
would
be
be
pretty
cool.
fun.
That's actually not an awful idea coming from somebody who knows absolutely nothing about this. So
it's possible. The weirdest thing is you would basically have to have your playlist queued up and ready to go, and it could press play for you. That's about what it could do.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
that'd be really, really cool.
How about some purse money for taking a KOM?
Yeah.
Oh.
Send you a little $10 something gift certificate. Yeah.
Brought to you by Venmo. You have $10.
It could send you one of those. What's the little Grubhub gift certificates you always give people? Oh God, I forget. It's it can go to any of those services. Strava just sends you some food.
I feel like that people would cheat that real quickly.
Oh yeah, people would be driving their cars at inappropriate bike speed to get KOMs for sure.
All right. Any other news?
There was.
No news.
No, there was.
Technology stuff that's going to be announced by the time this podcast goes live. We could talk about that if you want.
Go for it.
Yeah, it's way more exciting.
Evan, what do you think the Canyon Speedmax disc bike, TT bike, is supposed to be announced on Tuesday?
I was watching all the teasers for Patrick Lange's teaser and everything.
Really? Okay.
Is it tomorrow? It's supposed to be unveiled.
Yeah, tomorrow is the rumored date. I don't actually know anything specifically about that. I don't have any insider information or anything like that.
No, they were
But
just.
it looks interesting, right? Like it'll be disc TT bike.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna have like a Una bar for the little riser piece for the aero bars.
Yeah.
The
adjustments are going to be integrated, which is, in my opinion, the coolest part of that. But we'll see, because I bet that they're going to run into a couple little speed bumps with that. But yeah, like the headset adjustments, if those are all integrated, that's a really, really cool idea.
I mean, I think they do a good job of making a bike that that'll fit a lot of people. The problem is when you have a very adjustable bike that's very proprietary, all these little pieces, and then you have a company that's really great in Europe and so everywhere else, then you run into problems with like parts and things like
breaking.
That.
Especially if
it will
things
be
break.
A big announcement. It is one of the. I'm thinking that if it's not the most popular TT bike, it will be in the future. It's been growing by leaps and bounds over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
The other big announcement would be a Wahoo like smartwatch.
Mm-hmm.
So Lance, you might be interested in something like that. It sounds like it is going to be geared specifically towards triathletes. So that's you, Lance.
Then that's not me.
That's all you.
Lance, I saw you run last week. Actually, you were wearing some boots, and you ran down a sand dune, and running up the other side is a strong word for what you did, but it was like a hobble up the other side, and then you dropped your phone, and then Lance had to thank God, Brandy was watching him, but he had to run even more to go after his phone. It was maybe a quarter mile total of running, where I thought Lance might die during that
I
that segment.
Wanted to die. When I got to the top of the sand dune, I was ready for death. I wished for the sweet release of death when I reached the top of the sand dune.
Did you Strava that and then make that a KOM segment, so it'd be like Lance Hepler has one run KOM as well?
I did Strava the hike, but not as a run, and unfortunately I did not make a segment. Maybe I should go back and remedy that.
I think you should.
So Evan, question for you: if a watch from Wahoo had automatic splits for like T1, T2, all the stuff automatic,
awesome.
You just start it and stop it, would that be something that you would like? Would that be a feature that would be alluring to you? Is that something that you care about?
100%. I do care about that, because I've even considered not racing with watches before, because I hate having to remember to split. I have done races where my T1 is my entire bike. And it's the longest T1 ever. But yeah, that would be something absolutely worthwhile. I would for sure, that would be a feature to me that would be more important than a lot of the other things that people find valuable with watches.
Right. Like there's so many watches with now I've got music, now I've got all this stuff. It's like, well, I'm not really, that's not something I'm really going to use.
No. Or now we have indoor climbing for as an option. To be like, okay, cool. But
there's feature overload for sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm excited about this new watch from Wahoo. We'll learn more about it on Tuesday, the day before this podcast is released. We'll all get to learn a little bit more about it, and then hopefully I'll be doing a video on that product as soon as I can. As soon as I possibly can. But I will need to go do some open water swimming and do some stuff like that to actually test some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But the last thing that I was going to bring up would be race cancellations. We've had Ironman Arizona canceled. Which is a major bummer because, friend of the podcast had big plans to go over there, Scott Goodrich, and race. And he's been able to transfer his registration for a 70.3 in Texas, which also could be canceled. But that would be my question. Evan, what races do you think are going to be canceled? Do you think that Daytona race in December is going to be canceled? That would be a tragedy.
This is So Josh Mond also had big plans at Arizona. We had two local guys going out to really hammer that race,
right.
And it's just a bummer because both guys had massive builds in fitness this year. I mean, big builds, and took advantage of 2020, which I think is good. It was good to see people in the community that were still like, hey, I still want to be fast and fit this year, and it's a bummer they didn't get a chance to show that. Fingers crossed for Scott in Texas, but yeah, I'm not too too optimistic about that. I think Ironman's going to have to shut it down. But I don't even want to talk about Challenge Daytona, Matt, because the start list is growing to be maybe the greatest race ever. I know that we're sitting on a cycling podcast right now. This is
glorious.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of a one-day race right now, becoming a race that like even Roglic and Pogačar would like mark on their list. Like there's like 30 guys that are world class that are going after this race, and Vincent Lewis just said he's going to be there. Ali Brownlee, the 2-time gold medalist. The only guy I don't see on the list yet, Matt, that I'm surprised is Jan. Frodo's not on the list yet.
He was hit by a car and he's been recovering.
Never mind. So Frodo will not be there.
It's a major bummer. I mean, so he'll be part of that Canyon announcement.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he got hit by a car, but he's okay and he's been recovering. I just don't. I think basically in October he was saying like he wouldn't have been able to do Kona had they had a world championships because I
do remember that. I guess I didn't see how serious that injury was, but yeah. So on another note, there's Morgan Pearson, a guy who is and a big time American triathlete is also now going to Daytona. So if it gets canceled, that's going to be tough. What I hope they do. This is what I think the reasonable thing would be is cancel the amateur race, shut down the amateur race, make it just a pro race.
Yeah, they should do that now. Like,
they should do that right now.
Here's my problem with Ironman is like
they should do that right now.
Not Ironman. I'm sorry. This is an
PTO.
Ironman.
This is PTO and Challenge. Yeah.
PTO and Challenge. Yeah. No, they should cancel. They should do that now. They should cancel the amateur stuff because there's then you have otherwise you're going to have the state government come in and be like, you guys can't hold an event here. Maybe that'll happen anyway, but like
it could be less than 100 people if they do just pros at a time in the space. They could make it less than 100 people, which would be fine. I mean,
break our rules in Washington, right? Because it's like a 20-person limit.
But it's a massive outdoor facility, so I think the rules change for outdoor events.
And well, right now I think in Washington I thought it was like 20 people to an outdoor activity.
Gotcha. I'm sure Florida's a little bit more lax.
But it's Daytona, Florida. People in Florida, they don't care.
No, they're a little bit more lax. So I think
it's Florida.
And Daytona's track is pretty big, so you could argue that it's pretty wide spaced out.
They actually have a limit on number of alligators that you can have there, but there's no limit on people.
I'm not sure if they've checked the water in the middle of Daytona for alligators either, so that'll add a little extra flair into the race.
Yeah, you got to be extra fast to make it through the swim, to survive the swim.
You could just tell them there could be 3 to 5 alligators in the water. We're not sure how many, but it's between 3 and 5.
Between 3 and 5. Bryce, how come you're not racing?
Oh, why did I not get an invite to Challenge Daytona? It's weird. I was waiting for my invite after my stellar performances from last year.
Be there. You're busy with work, though, so I mean, as nice as it is that they would send you that invite, you would say no anyway.
Oh, that's the only reason I'm not there is because of work. Yeah, it has nothing to do with lack of top end performances from last year. But
all right, are we done?
That's basically it. There's no we're not going to have race results to talk about for a while.
Yeah, bring you Zwift racing and
so really
Strava KOM hunting.
If Challenge Daytona happens, that's going to be the only thing Champ is going to be allowed to talk about because Champ is entering the dark winter of where if cyclocross races aren't happening, there's going to be only that race to talk about.
Let's get Champ a link to the live show for that because they might both Champ and Jake might get into it and they could make for an interesting discussion, a triathlon takeover, if you will.
We could have Dialed Podcast live media at Challenge Daytona. Yeah.
I think Champ goes into hibernation during the triathlon championship season. Sorry.
No, he does. Don't worry. We'll take. God, who's another famous cornerback from that era? We could take. I'm trying to think of another cornerback that fits well into this conversation. Could take the former Bengal Leon Hall. We'll start reporting now.
Oh, jeez. Cool. All right, Champ, are you out?
Champ is out.
Awesome. Let's jump into some Patreon news. You guys, we have a new Patreon. We have
Whoa.
Mr. Perry York joined the ranks of the Dial Podcast Patreon. Thank you so much for jumping on board, Perry. Appreciate that. And as promised, this week we are going to do another drawing. So this week will be for some exciting Christmas socks again. Those things are pretty cool. We've got 3 different varieties to choose from. You can pick out one that fits best for you, and there are multiple sizes. So whoever you are, who's ever going to be the name that we pull out of this little bucket thing here, you can pick some that work best for you. So
we should throw some stickers in there too, Jake, just so they get a little something extra.
Yeah, we can mention that everybody who's picked up stuff has always gotten stickers or they've received them in the mail. So, Yep, definitely some stickers though. Let's see here. I'm gonna pull. Got the shake. Got the thing here.
I'm not picking again. So if Dove wins, it's not me.
Uh-oh. I don't know. How does this work, Evan?
Oh God!
Champ Bailey is the winner.
Champ Bailey wins.
Oh no!
But since we don't know who Champ Bailey is,
former Denver Bronco Champ Bailey
hasn't disclosed themselves, we're gonna have to pull.
Champ Bailey needs to come forward to claim their prize.
This is true. This is true.
So we're going to pull a second one out, and if Champ Bailey decides that they want to disclose who they might be, then
we're going to have 2 winners this week then.
Yeah, might have to leave it like
aren't there two Champ Baileys, like the Champ Bailey and the real Champ Bailey?
There is.
So if you're not the Champ Bailey that's not the real Champ Bailey, then you don't disclose yourself.
Yeah. This is just Champ Bailey.
Witness Protection Agency. Yeah.
Maybe I'll leave it in a box behind the back door or something like that.
That would be funny.
Come pick it up at your leisure.
That's a good idea, Jake.
Oh, it looks like we have Mr. Chris Weirman. Chris Weirman is the winner of a pair of socks.
Nice, Chris.
Yeah. He's actually a teammate of ours, too. So that'll be pretty cool. Hopefully we'll see him at the Ugly Christmas Sweater Ride. And that was the premise behind giving away some Christmas socks, is to talk about the Ugly Christmas Sweater Ride that we have coming up 3 weeks from this past weekend. So, we will be doing that here very soon, and we'll be talking about that a lot more as we get closer. So,
is that the weekend after Thanksgiving, usually?
It is the first Saturday, which would be December 5th, first Saturday in December, so December 5th.
Yeah.
Day before my youngest daughter's birthday. Good times, good times.
Finished her first ever 10K before first ever 5K before the age of 10, right?
Yeah, she was 8.
Wow.
Yeah, she.
Cool. That's a long way for an 8-year-old.
Yeah, well,
it's a lot of steps.
I think she took 3rd place in that too. So
Dang.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
wow.
She lost to a girl that was like 2 or 3 years older than her, and
understandable.
I'm not sure who the other girl was, but they were both pretty fast. They were older.
Camas cross country.
Yeah. Might have to send her your way, Matt, for some training.
There you go.
If you want to become a Patreon yourself, go to dialpodcast.com. You will see the Patreon link there to click on and go check out the Patreon that works best for you. We'll add your name to the bucket and some other cool things come along with that. So thank you again for everybody who's a Patreon. Greatly appreciate it. All right, topic for the day.
Whoa, first.
Wait, what?
We are going to do, real quick around before we discuss this, all 3 of ours, but the 3 of us being, unless Jake would like to join in, top 3 things that you appreciate about Jake Von During. Because this podcast does not get put on easily. Let me put it that way. Just for instance, when I walked in here today, Jake is cutting and splicing. I don't even know how to phrase this. I wouldn't even know how to approach doing this process. Just that Champ Bailey bit, which can take him at times up to just a half hour just to get through some cool clip like that. So everybody who listens to this, I think, usually knows Jake well and knows the amount of effort and work he puts in. But we get to see it on a daily basis, and Matt has a true appreciation for it, being somebody who actually worked with putting together podcasts before. I just appreciate it just because I have no idea how to do any of that. So it's amazing to me that it gets done, period. But let's go. Matt, you go first.
All right. Here's my number 1 for Jake. The guy's fun to ride with. I haven't been riding with you quite as much. We would still ride together probably a couple times per month or whatever, but we used to ride all the time. Our lunch ride was awesome, and so much fun to ride with. Love it. So that's my number 1. Guy is fun to ride with. If you ever get the chance to ride with Jake Von During, do it. It's fun.
Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
Fun to ride with as well, my friend.
Lance, go ahead.
The love fest for Jake will continue here. I like this topic.
We're not doing top 3 criticisms of Jake Fontaine. That would have been fun, actually.
One thing that I absolutely love about Jake is he is very giving of his time, almost to a fault. I am a very selfish person who will take every opportunity I can to ride my bike and make sure my own needs are taken care of. Jake, I have seen him put off his own personal interests to help other people out, and that's just very impressive to me. Love you, Jake.
Thanks, Lance.
Going off of Lance there, I will say the same exact thing, and I mean I get to see it on a daily basis of anytime somebody walks in with a problem with their bike, it's almost, the exact opposite of your usual bike store experience where they're like, oh, we'll get you back to you in 2 weeks. Jake will put everything aside to make sure that gets done. And then along with that, just this last year, the amount of questions I've had for him and just business development and trying to, run a medical clinic through this time period. I know Jake has mentioned this before on this podcast, but Jake ran a very, very successful gym in California before moving up here, and opened that business at a very young age, and made mistakes, but was so willing to share all those mistakes with me and what he learned from them. And I'm sure it's just the tip of the iceberg with what I can learn from him. But just once again, like time is huge there, because those stories and lessons don't take 2 minutes to share; they take a while to share. So.
That's pretty simple. Just don't do what I did. And you'll be just fine. Yeah.
Just like Lance said, just, work really hard for like 20, 30 years and then boom, it's done. So.
All right, I got another one. And this kind of goes along with a lot of what we're saying. Jake is ridiculously committed to the sport of cycling and promoting it. And it's really impressive to see like what he's done in the community for the sport of cycling, and triathlon too. I mean, not that that's your passion necessarily, triathlon, but because of, cycling being part of triathlon, that's been super helpful. Like we almost kind of like get the extra benefits of having all of this cycling momentum in our particular area. And it's not just our area. I really feel like it's like cycling worldwide. Like our podcast goes out. We're very popular across whatever,
in
Poland
Iceland.
or
Exactly.
Correct.
It's popular, but I think it's impressive how dedicated you are, and it's all this sort of stuff that you're doing out in the community, but also the next spot I'd say is like someone brings in a bike and with a busted cable, and Jake will just take care of it and be like, "Yep, send you on your way." Like no questions asked, like no like, hey, how am I going to pay for this? Kind of, it's like he just takes care of you because. Like that's how he is. He just cares about cyclists. So that's super impressive. And really, I've never seen anything like that before. So
True. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I love that you're so uncomfortable.
Oh, he's so uncomfortable right now. I love this.
I'm not squirming at
I
all.
love
over here.
this. This is, well, I mean, Jake turned 46 years old and was going to probably just tell us, he'd be like, when was your birthday, Jake? It was a couple months ago. I don't know. How old are you? I don't know. 37. I'm not sure. I don't keep track. So
I have to start distracting you guys with some of these buttons over here.
My next thing is, especially lately, when I ride with Jake, I have rarely found somebody who has made me hurt more on a bike than Jake has. And that is a very good thing. If we're on the flats, if we're motoring along, I have sat on his wheel and just killed myself more than once just to hold his wheel, just to stay on it. And I love that about Jake. Thank you, Jake, for making me hurt.
Fun to ride with, Hep.
I love that Jake shares to I mean, we talk about what Dial has done just for the cycling community in the Pacific Northwest, but it's cool to see a father instill that in his kids too, because I remember growing up around endurance sports, and there's nothing, I mean, God, I wouldn't give up any bit of my childhood from an endurance sports perspective. I think it was great that I grew up around a mom and that ran and did Ironmans, and my dad who loved to bike, and seeing Jake share that, especially with all three of his kids right now, is so cool, along with the community. But Jake has helped me too focus on like build the juniors in a local team. I feel like especially in the triathlon world sometimes, but I know it's in the cycling world, we focus on adults so much, and it's like, come on, nobody really cares if our FTP is going up 10, 15 watts. But when you see a kid, like one of Jake's kids, like enjoy like PIR last year or a short course was really cool. It's like that's way more enjoyable, like way more enjoyable than going to a race and being like, oh, I got my 20-minute power PR. It's like, okay, neat. This 8-year-old over here just found out that he really enjoys riding mountain bikes and could care less about that. And that's way more enjoyable to be around. And that's all built from Jake's foundation and what he does for his own family, but then also to build the juniors on the team is awesome.
That's the future.
Yeah.
Got to take care of the future.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My last one is along the same lines, Evan, and that is that as dedicated as Jake is to cycling and, helping cyclists out around the world, I think he's an impressive father figure for his kids and, husband for his wife. And I think that, to me, that's kind of like the best compliment that you can give is like, hey, this guy's a good family man. So hats off to you, Jake. Hope you had a great birthday. Hope to celebrate many more of your birthdays with you in the near future.
Thanks, Matt.
My third thing was the exact same thing as Matt's, is that Jake is a bit of an example as far as how you should be a family man, being an example to your kids and being committed to your wife and kids. He is very good at that. So I love that about you, Jake.
Thanks. Have you talked to my wife or my kids recently? Is there consensus there? I don't know.
Here, I'll let Jake's squirming come down a little bit, and I'll end it with a criticism that Jake needs to go outside and ride bikes a bit more because he's been working a little bit too hard in here lately. So I'll end it with a criticism that this winter Jake needs, instead of people bringing him bikes for him, they need to come here and then do a lunch ride together instead.
Yeah. Well, I think this next coming year is going to be a lot of fun for a lot of different reasons, and I think that I'm going to be able to hit a transition here where having some other people working with me. I've got a few people doing some things, but having some people here working with me so I don't have to do everything, that's going to be nice, and that'll allow me to get into a few other things, most notably getting back to riding during the day. That needs to happen. So, because it does.
It's getting dark at like 5 right now.
Yeah,
it's too early.
Brutal.
Yeah.
But it's nice to be able to get that done during the day so you can plug into your family at night as opposed to sitting on a trainer for an hour or two and, at 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And I don't know.
Yeah.
You guys, that was, I had no idea that you're going to do that. Thank you for making me squirm. Don't like being the center of attention, but I do appreciate that. That means a lot, especially coming from you three. You guys are some of the best ones out there. Appreciate it.
No problem, Jake. No problem at all. All right. Now, enough of the cushy stuff. Let's get into talking specifically about what was it? I love how Jake sent us a Dylan Johnson video today, which I actually a weekend ago went down a way rabbit hole on a long trainer ride and watched like 20 of Dylan Johnson's videos. This being one of them.
That kid is sharp.
He's a sharp kid. I like him.
Yeah,
I like him
the fact that it's not just a bunch of
He's
fast.
very fast.
It's not just a bunch of his opinion, but he's backing it up with science. He's backing it up with studies and going through all of the evidence of why it is that he preaches what he preaches. And it's stuff that you and I have learned in our exercise physiology classes. It's stuff that we've adopted over the years of being, training athletes. So the fact that he comes out and he's putting this stuff out there on YouTube for people to consume for free, that's fantastic. I think that's a really good resource. So, sorry.
I think that's Dylan Johnson calling right now.
Yep.
I think that's him calling.
Not quite sure who that is, but sorry about that. I was looking for my phone. I'm like, off! Oh, gosh.
We should actually reach out to him and ask him if he wants to come on the podcast.
You know what? That would be awesome.
I would be 100%. I would love to nerd out over that. That would be really, really cool.
Yeah. So
I did briefly meet him at the Belgian Waffle Ride during the awards ceremony. Yeah. Because he took 4th overall.
Yeah, he was way up there. Yeah. He's how old is he? Is he like mid-20s, late 20s?
I'm going to guess mid-20s.
Mid-20s?
I think he's late 20s.
Late 20s? Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So the question, or rather the topic for today, was we're going to discuss recovery overtraining and just kind of pushing the limits in general.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to kind of hone in on the recovery component, but there's some other another video that he came out with recently talking about block training, and I think that there's some really good stuff in there to discuss, and who that might be for and who it's not for and when you might want to employ that. So the reason why I want to kind of run through this is because I'm trying to figure out how Lance is able to employ this whole block training thing pretty much on a weekly basis, 365 days a year. Lance.
Yeah, Lance, if you're breaking down a week, how often would you say you push north of VO2 max for 1 minute at least 5 times in a workout? I know that you have a lot of unstructured workout. How many times do you think you do that in a week?
Well, as far as actual structured workouts, I've been doing like 2 structured workouts a week and then 5 times just riding.
See, that's actually well within what Dylan would say is like maintainable.
Air quotes, guys. Riding.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't believe him
chasing
at all there.
segments
Yeah, I don't believe
and
him.
chasing dogs and
I'm not exactly taking it easy on the other days, but you know, it's hard to say. I definitely believe in block periodization and that the science behind it is undeniable. That it actually works. But I guess for me, I certainly have race goals and what I want to accomplish, but I also want to enjoy my life and not just be about race goals. And so if I'm in Vegas and my buddy wants to go ride mountain bikes, okay, forget the workout. Let's go ride mountain bikes, you know? Yeah. And so, and if there's a 4-mile climb in the middle of that, and he says, go ahead. Here's the funny thing. Yesterday, riding with Yuri, it was like 70-mile ride. I actually felt fantastic. And this was unexpected, but I was out climbing Yuri on all the climbs. So we'd get to the bottom of the climb and Yuri would just go, okay, Lance, this climb is 15 minutes. It's kind of stair stepper. Just pin it and wait for me at the top.
Dang. That doesn't surprise me though, Lance, with your, I mean, as we're talking watts per kilo numbers, those have just been slowly going up for you and steadily increasing. So I think you're just going to be in a different class of riders than what you've been used to in this next year. It's just without a race season, it's been hard for you to realize, I think, where you're at too. It's always easy in a cycling, a road racing season. It's really easy to realize where you are in the echelon because you get into breakaways you wouldn't get into before. But I think you're going to be surprised when 2021 comes around.
Well, I got to say, I don't think there's going to be racing in 2021 either.
God, don't even say that. That sounds terrible.
But you really don't think so, Lance?
I don't think any of the spring races will happen.
Oh.
I think any of the early summer races probably won't happen. I think it will be
cross season.
It maybe cross season, but who knows?
You're not super optimistic about the vaccines that they're talking about on the news.
Just think about how long it's going to take for them to roll that out to everybody before they can get that done. I mean, they're making millions upon millions of them, but you've got to share
They
that
said
with...
warp speed, Jake. They said warp speed.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So just so you know, personally, I invested in Pfizer. I bought some Pfizer stock like a month and a half ago because I do believe that the vaccine is coming and it's going to be good and big. But
the best.
I just don't think it'll be enough. Wait, I missed that.
Lance,
I think Evan just took a stab at our
president. Lance, would you say that it's going to be the best?
The best.
Evan nailed that one.
No. That was not a slight at our president. That was just me asking if it's going to be the best. Anyway, going back to block periodization here. Anybody who wants to watch this video from Dylan, by the way, it is very, very good. He has a lot of good videos, but I like this video because I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. So I'm going to pull a Matt. Block periodization, just to give a broad definition for people, is the theory that, let's give an example. Let's say you got a race in 3 weeks. Let's say you're a cyclist and got a race in 3 weeks. Block periodization would say going into that race, anywhere between that 1 to 3 week range out. I think a couple of studies were pointing to 2 weeks out. I think Dylan referenced that 2 weeks out. Was it before Belgian Waffle is the week that he highlighted in that video?
It was, but his big block periodization week was 4 weeks out. If I'm
was
not
it
mistaken.
4 weeks out? Okay. I think one of the studies he had mentioned was 2 weeks out from race. He was talking about a week he did before Belgian Waffle ride that was 4 weeks out, where he had basically 5 days in that week that were like just not easy days, very hard interval days. I think he actually goes through in the video what specifically he did those days, and then he ended it with a race too, I think.
Yeah, I actually have it written down right here.
Nice.
So
okay.
on Monday he did a rest day, which is pretty much par for the course for all of his training weeks is rest day.
Yeah.
And was kind of pleased to see that because that's generally my rest day when we're not doing this Dialed 100 thing. And then Tuesday was going to be 8 minutes time, or I'm sorry, 8 reps of 5 minutes at his VO2 max. So he was, God, what was he, like north of 400 watts, like 4.5?
Yeah, he was strong.
410, somewhere in there.
He was at like, what, that was almost, I think he said 6 watts per kilo was close
something
to what
like
that
that.
was.
So
yeah.
That's hard. I mean,
that's very hard. 6 watts per kilo for
8 times 5 minutes is just that's
hurts.
hard
to digest. As just
so that ride took him 3 hours and 15 minutes because he did some zone 2 in there as well. Going on to Wednesday, he did it 4 times 15 minutes at his FTP.
Still an incredibly hard work the next day.
That's
oh my
tough.
God. Yeah,
that's really tough. And that was a 4-hour ride. His Thursday ride was a recovery ride for an hour, and it was just an easy pace, zone 1, zone 2, somewhere in there. Then Friday was the 30 by 30 seconds. So that hurts.
Neuromuscular type
really,
workout. Yeah,
really bad. So and it's that recovery period of only having 30 seconds that really kind of makes you want to throw up in your mouth over and over again.
That's where it goes beyond just a neuromuscular workout. It very much becomes an aerobic workout then.
Yeah.
You do not have enough time to clear your lactate in that
and so
period.
Saturday he built in a race in that particular week that he was referencing.
Won the race, didn't he?
He won the race, yeah. And he did say though that you can definitely go out and do a hard group ride, and we know our team rides all too well, and that's something that definitely goes out there, and it's very race oriented, if you will. So that was a 3.5 hour ride, and then on Sunday he did 3 by 40 minutes.
Yeah, his more long aerobic day. But
that is nuts, and that was a 5 hour and 45-minute ride, and he finished it with some sprints for a total of 20 hours on the week. So that was a big stretch from what he normally would do in a normal training week.
Five basically hard taxing days on the system. And that's where, so some of the research that he's pointing at, and his goal with a week like that is you're basically going to spike your fitness going into a race block right before that, and then really get the most out of that taper, because you are going to be hitting some pretty incredible fitness right after. I mean, you're basically flogging your system, and you're going to create short-term adaptations. So this is where you can kind of nerd out on this and look at, okay, what do those short-term adaptations mean? Well, if you really, really tax your system, let's say you're highly trained and for 1 to 2 weeks you tax your system, that means that you're going to be walking a fine line now on that rest recovery cycle, which means for an athlete like, Dylan, he's going to be able to recover and actually reap those benefits in that short term. Mm-hmm. Now, those benefits being increased vascularization to the active muscles, increased threshold. I guarantee if you measured his threshold before that block and a week after with a little bit of rest, he's going to increase that lactate threshold a little bit. Lactate threshold, for anybody who wants to know what does that term mean, so when you're watching these videos, Dylan does a great job of looking at the research, but he really, I think at times does talk pretty high. Like he's a smart guy. So if you're watching his videos and you're like, what does You hear lactate threshold or CLT written everywhere. Lactate threshold is basically this idea that we can nail down where an aerobic effort becomes not sustainable. So if you're in a lab and you are testing for lactate threshold, what you're looking at is, if you've ever seen the gas mask that somebody's basically wearing when they're on the bike, and the old cycling documentaries you watch where Lance will be on there what are you testing? Oh, we're testing his lactate threshold. It's incredible, yada, yada. So what that gas mask is doing is basically measuring the rate that you are expelling CO2. Now, that is indirectly related to workload, or directly related to workload. Let's say that you are cycling, and your RER, which is your resting expiratory rate, is measuring how much CO2 is being expelled. At a certain number, now that's a ratio, that number. Generally, once you get north of 1.0, you're creeping into dangerous, this is going to get really hard efforts. Really, really strong aerobic athletes can go to 1.2 to 1.4. They can get way up there and still be able to sustain it. Yep. So what you're looking at is, okay, now all of a sudden there's an exponential increase. So a massive increase in your lactate accumulation. That's your lactate threshold, okay? That's where your system's not able to expel at a rate that stabilizes it. Now, intervals, you do that again and again and again, you train your body, and your body will raise that threshold over time. You stack 5 of those days in a week, that is hard. So my devil's advocate moment, Dylan, is people will watch that video and be like, man, my Cat 4-5 race that I really want to do well at, I'm going to stack that week 2 weeks out and see what happens. You need to be a very well-trained athlete to be able to absorb that training well, or be very careful with how you structure those, because that's where you can get, I think, yourself into trouble, because all that research he cited was elite cross-country skiers, which is great, but I'm not sure how transferable that is to your typical first year of 4-5 racing athlete.
Yeah, he did kind of allude to that, and he did reference the fact that some of the studies that they were referencing was from the cross-country skiing, but there were some studies in there that were from just endurance sports in general and cyclists and whatnot, but what you're alluding to, it was endurance or cross-country skiers.
The really specific periodization they looked at,
He did also say that this is not going to be something that's for the untrained athlete or the person that's new to the sport. Like, I wouldn't go take somebody that's just started cycling 6 months ago, like got the cycling bud during the whole COVID thing, and now wants to get into racing, and they're barely understanding what an FTP is. That's not the person that we want to focus on here. It's somebody like yourself, or like a Lance, or whatever. It's the person that has kind of almost hit a plateau, that has done all of the training, and their FTPs get into a certain station, and they want to switch it up a little bit and try something a little bit different. I think that's a good place. And I wouldn't do it for the first time going into a race. I would have experimented with this months ahead of time, and just
even like mid-off season, you can just give that a shot. Yeah.
So that was just my
Heck, I may try it. Lance, want to try it soon? We can. We could do a little report on podcast. We could do a little 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after. We do a little ramp test, do a block periodization, and then a week after that, you do another one.
It's very akin to almost like a stage race.
It is,
or a training camp. Our training camps are pretty tough, and there's a lot of things that he was going through in terms of like how your body feels. So like the first day you might go out there and you have a great workout. The next day you're going to feel like crap because your body's still kind of dragging from the day before, and then all of a sudden you get into like day 3 and 4, and you're like, oh, I feel kind of good. I can resonate with that because I've seen that happen to me out at our training camps, where the first day you go out there and you ride really hard, the second day you feel god-awful terrible, but as the week goes on, you feel like you're getting stronger, and you feel like you kind of come over that peak, you kind of break that hump, and you're off doing some good things.
Yeah. There was a guy on YouTube, this is a terrible story because I forget the guy's name, but if you probably Google this, his video would come up. He did 7 20-minute FTP tests in a week. Every day he did one, which sounds terrible. Sounds so terrible. And he was decently fit. He's like a Cat 3 rider, like fitness-wise, I believe. And what was crazy is his 7th, I'm pretty sure his 7th one was what was his best number.
Really?
And that was like, he dropped off in the middle. He had one day that was like terrible, but it was just like Jake was talking about, is like somehow you can build that fitness while destroying yourself, but it seems like about 7 days is as long as your body wants to take it.
I think, though, going back to this, the biggest thing about doing this to make it successful is making sure that you adhere to the recovery component. That following week or block of days is uber important. If you don't play that right, you're going to screw yourself. And he did say that he's done it before where it's all blown up in his face. And he just really dug himself in a ditch. He was like feeling fatigued and legs were heavy, wasn't able to perform, his FTP dropped, and that's because he didn't nail the rest and recovery component of it. So.
What a waste. Can you imagine that? Hitting an awesome 7-day week, and then you just don't really rest the next week that well, and you see all those go away.
So let's kind of just continue talking about this. He went through his whole training regimen. Have you guys ever done something like this before?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Lance, have you tried this, Lance? Forms of this?
Yeah, I have done forms of it off and on for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
Especially in my Ironman training time, I did much more block periodization stuff. in my Ironman training time. Cycling just doesn't beat you up as much when you're not running.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find that I can do more repeated, harder efforts, and the block periodization doesn't, I guess, kill me as much.
No, stay.
Yeah. I think block periodization from a cycling point of view is way easier on the body. Matt, from a run perspective, you as a coach, let's say you're taking that kid you had a few years ago who was a low 4 miler. Let's say that he's got his biggest race of the year coming up. How as a runner, how careful are you 3-4 weeks out, or do you structure something for an athlete like that can simulate this same thing that Dylan's talking about?
No, I mean, so if I were calling all the shots, I would definitely put in a big block right at that 3 weeks prior to a big event. So that's how I've structured all of my Ironman races. That's how I've structured a lot of my own historical running stuff for the most part. If you can, a lot of times you end up having a championship season where it gets very hard to schedule these things. But even if you have to sacrifice a little bit of fitness for within a championship tournament or whatever, depending on the sport that you're talking about, having that rally and having that fitness come around a couple weeks later for the finals, or for, in this case, state championship type situation, is probably worth the risk. So, again, I am, one of the things that I would say is I think that your body's learning how to shuttle lactate a bit more economically, and then also how to use that lactate as an energy source. I think that's really where, if you look into this stuff, that's where you'll see a lot of the readings and studying going on right now. It's why is this work? Why is this effective? We all know that it is effective. It's worked for us. But the real reason is why does this bump in volume work? And I think it has to be that lactate shuttling system.
Yeah, absolutely. I know in Alex Hutchinson's book, To and Endure, he does talk about how from a central nervous system point of view, just like Jake was mentioning with a long training week, training camp week, your central nervous system gets more exposed to that level of, effort in general, regardless of where on the lactate threshold spectrum we're talking about. So just like when you get into an interval workout, and even though it feels hard, it feels easy. And anybody who knows what I'm talking about would understand that. That's part of that process too, is just exposing your brain to that sensation. And I think, Matt, I know in running too, especially, way different than cycling, is we were talking about this a little bit ago. Remember, we were talking about you can do your track workouts at altitude if you'd like, but a 62-second 400 is a 62-second 400. It's not a 68-second 400. So you also need to be able to expose your system as a runner to those higher speeds, regardless of how you feel with that. Your system has to be able to run at that speed. I think that's
more neuromuscular, don't you think? Where
Absolutely. Motor pattern. Yeah, motor pattern based.
You have to run the pace that you're going to race at. I mean, really, that's the whole point of speed work, right? Why do you...
Yeah, why are you running 200s?
Those 200-meter work, repeats. Okay, well, otherwise, you want to get your body used to being able to move at that pace so that you can maintain it for a longer term.
Yep. That's where, I know when we're talking about rest recovery as well, I think that's where it's important, is if you're where should I put my rest and where, I'm a busy person. I got a job, I got kids, I have a family, I have, those obligations. Well, if you're looking at your year and you really have this nice solid build just in consistency, because you can't shove a ton of volume in, which is fine. But if you have an A race, and usually people with busy lifestyles, especially in the triathlon world, have an A race that year. They're not Wout van Aert, who's racing, 60, 70 days in a year, if not more. You're going to have that one day. 3-4 weeks out, try to build it into your schedule where that's where you hone into that race pace, or that's where you really hone into, okay, this is that workout I've been scared of doing for a long time. That's when you do it, then you recover, then you race. I think the amazing thing is when you look at, and Matt may know this too, in the ITU world, there's two good examples. Javier Gomez is known as a guy who always shows up and races well, like very well. Always like wins like a season's world championship because he gets the most points, back in the mid 2000s. Allie Brownlee was always known as the best one-day racer, which meant nobody peaked like Allie did. That probably means, my guess, I haven't looked specifically at his training, he doesn't share it, but I bet he's doing a lot of what Dylan's talking about here, where 3-4 weeks out, he probably hits an insane week. I'm sure it's some ridiculously structured week. And then going into that A race that he's deemed his A race for either the spring or the summer or whatever, he's hitting better fitness than anybody else there. And that's why I think most people were pretty scared of him, that if he was going to be on a start list, you knew he was ready to go. I'm not sure in the cycling world who'd be like the best one-day guy, like if you were to in today's racing world.
There's a couple
Maybe
of them.
some classics rider or something.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is nowadays in the cycling world, God, a lot of those guys are even great guys you would just on any start list want to put them at the top.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's
like
the weird thing about
Matthew
this
Van Der Poel, I
conversation
feel
is
like.
it's like it very much lends itself to stage racing, right? Where we talk about like, hey, you race yourself on these stage races into shape a little bit, right? Where you're working significantly harder than you normally would over a three-week period, or even like a 1-week period. And at the end, you're more fit than when you started. So It's super interesting.
So you're saying Pogačar's clean then, right?
Yeah, they're all clean. They're all
So all that Pogačar did was he just trained himself into fitness, basically.
That's it. In fact, he came in. He was a 46-year-old overweight white male when he came into the race, and when he finished, he was a 19-year-old
Slovenian,
110-pound racing machine. So that's how that works.
Changed nationality too. He just
Cool. Have you guys ever dealt with issues of not getting proper recovery? And have you ever been in overtrained situation where you've actually had to take some time off?
No.
Never. How about you, Lance?
I don't think legitimately overtrained and overdone. I don't think I've ever actually been there.
How about you, Matt?
I had a point where I was doing a massive amount of running volume, and I needed to reduce the volume to be able to pick up the pace a little bit. So I think it wasn't your classic like overtraining situation where you have trouble sleeping and your resting heart rate spikes up and things like that. But it was a situation where it was like I needed to turn over the speed a little bit more, and reducing the volume helped with that, which seems crazy if you think about it. Like our goals are to be faster, but I needed to basically make sure that I was on the travel team at Alabama. We had a team that was going to the NCAA championships. It was a strong team, and we had a whole bunch of guys that were basically like me, and so I was in the mix for being, like 5th place on the team or 9th place on the team, and they take 7 people to race. And so it's like, you needed to be one of those top people or else, you're staying home. And so there was a point where I was like, I needed to reduce the volume that I was doing so that I could perform better, both in the workouts, and the races. And they weren't necessarily like the end of season races. They were like mid-season races. And so that's not exactly the question that you asked, but I've had to reduce volume and be very specific about my training to make sure I was in the mix, so to speak.
Matt was in the running to be the one non-Kenyan
on
the traveling squad. All right, we know who the 4 guys are. Who's going to be the only non-Kenyan here to run with us?
Yeah. You're like, LeGrand? Guess.
Yeah, nope. I guess. Oh, God.
I've never been at that elite station like Matt was in his collegiate racing days, but I mean, I've dipped my toe in the waters of like being on the brink of overtraining, and I've always like kind of just pulled back enough just to know that I'm not going to go over the edge. So I think we've all flirted with it for sure, but I don't. It sounds like none of us have actually ever been in that overtrained situation where you've got
overtraining syndrome is a really, I think, specific. I think all 4 of us, whether we want to admit it or not, have definitely overtrained. But to be to reach overtrained syndrome, to hit that line, like Matt said, is you need, well, for one, there's a few symptoms. Is like you're getting sick a lot. And, I don't think any four of us here, knocking on wood, are people who frequently get sick. And there's, like big issues with, if you're a cyclist too, like bone density, things like that. Those all feed into overtraining syndrome. Overtraining itself, yeah, I think when I was, I think I was just at the beginning of grad school, I think. I had a season where I had like 2 stress fractures compounding on top of each other, which was probably overtraining, just idiotic overtraining. Not overtraining syndrome. I think my body was stopping me before I was going to get to an actual, like, serious overtraining issue. But, yeah, I think hopefully all of us have been, luckily, all of us have something else in our lives, too. I think a lot of people who dip into actual overtraining syndrome, the sport becomes everything, whether that's cycling, running, or triathlon. It becomes the only thing that they do. And that's where it can get dangerous. That can get very, very, very dangerous, especially when you're talking like loss of sleep, high heart rate, resting, well above what it should be, and getting sick frequently.
Gotcha. All right, so we know that studies are showing that block periodization will definitely yield better adaptations to your training than just a typical periodized training program by itself. And we also have talked about the fact that we know that the recovery cycles are extremely important there. Let's just talk about recovery in general. Are you guys doing anything in particular? Are you guys employing any kind of specific method or taking into consideration different kinds of devices or tools that you can use for that recovery process? And then I think the biggest one out there is probably going to be aside from just like rest in general, but like the nutrition component of it. What are you guys doing on all of those fronts to help you and aid you in the whole recovery process? Lance, are you doing anything special?
Well, I've talked about this before. I have a Whoop strap that I wear, and it gives me actually a recovery number every morning. So I have an idea of where my resting heart rate is, how good of sleep I got, and what my heart rate variability is, and that correlates to an actual number of recovery. And I can see if I have buried myself. And I've buried myself a couple of times, but it never for more than a couple days at a time. At training camp, it was kind of a badge of honor between the people who had Whoop scores who had the lowest recovery score the next day. And which is stupid.
Yeah, single digit red. Yeah.
But I think taking my sleep seriously and trying to rest properly. I've talked a lot about my diet as well. I mean, I don't have yes, I've been vegan for like the last year, and I've been really careful about that. But, people ask me, what do you eat when you're vegan? And I say French fries and candy, because those are both vegan. You can just eat French fries and candy. So I do try to eat a lot of whole grains and a lot of fruit and vegetables, but I still eat bread, and I still do eat candy sometimes too. And so I know that when I'm eating better, that my recovery scores are better. When I'm sleeping right, my recovery scores are better. All those things have, I guess, made a difference. Case in point, yesterday I did this huge ride with Yuri. 4 hours with a lot of hard efforts in there. And I woke up with a 90% recovery score this morning still. So, which was solid. Way more than I, expected. So
let me ask you another question too. This is a luxury that you probably have that most of us sitting here with you don't. Do you take naps frequently throughout the day? Do you nap after your workouts?
That's a great question. I've never been a napper my entire life. I don't nap.
Okay.
Not after hard efforts, not after hard workouts. I don't nap.
How about you, Matt? Are you a napper?
I would say I would love to take, I am the opposite of Lance. I would love to take a nap every day if possible. I actually think that when I was running a significant amount, I would try to. Again, I was younger. I didn't nap as well. Now I think I could nap. Like you just ask me right now, and I'd be like, boom, I'm out. But I don't have time to anymore. And so even on the the weekends are busy with family stuff, and it's like, so I unfortunately don't get to nap. I would love to. I really think that would be something that would help me on a number of different things that I've gone through. Like even like all these Achilles issues, I think having some real decent sleep would help me a lot. So it's something I should try to make time for, but it's like, man, there's so many other things that I want to do and want to get done that it's hard for me to turn my brain off. So
I'm the same way. As a matter of fact, if I'm taking a nap, my wife, the first thing that goes through her head is like, "You're sick, aren't you?" Because that's the only time I ever take a nap is when I'm sick. Just because I will actually take the time to go sit down and rest.
That's where I'll have to quarantine you to this room if I walk in here and you're laying on the ground napping one day. I'd be like, we have to kill him now. This is it.
COVID. How about you, Evan? I envision Evan getting about 4 hours of sleep a day, and if he sleeps in, it's 4.5, and then other days he's up like for 22 hours.
I've been trying. Me and Cassie are getting a little bit better at really trying to, kind of like. I always go back to Lansing is like you always have time for things, like whether you think you do or not. And sleep has been the one for me that I think I'm just kind of coming to a realization this year. As much as I'm still going to work and want to be as fit as absolutely possible, but after following some of these young pros that I'm now actually having to race is a strong word for what I'm doing with them, chasing them as they go further and further away from me. It was one of my favorite videos was Sam Long and Elliot Bach, another guy. Elliot does some coaching, and they were talking about the importance of recovery with the people that they coach. And this is how disconnected some of these guys are from people who, are in like Matt's situation, as he just says, kids and job. Is they were talking about how when they introduced a nap into their day, how much better their training day felt. And it was like this huge realization to them. And for me, it was almost funny listening to, because it's like, well, yeah, that obviously makes a lot of sense recovery-wise, but as a coach, you should really be able to look at, okay, what is this person able to actually recover? Because it sounds awesome in theory until you actually look at somebody's lifestyle and you're like, oh, yeah, Matt has, 32 kids and is, making all the apps for Phil Knight personally on his phone right now. So
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so I mean that's basically Matt's lifestyle, and there's not going to be a chance where I can say like, Matt, man, your Whoop score is low right now. Make sure you get that hour and a half nap in today, and Matt will be like, awesome. Not going to happen probably, but I have been able to find that I really could consistently get 7 hours of sleep, maybe even 7.5. And on the weekends, because I don't have kids, I really can't control my sleep, and we're getting 8 or 9 hours of sleep on the weekends. Mostly that means we go to bed literally at like 9 p.m. It'd be like a Saturday night, and we're like, right, 9 p.m., time to go to bed, because I'm waking up and cranking out 14, 15 miles of hard intervals in the morning.
Old-timey Evan Price.
Because I still do want to get faster, but I have to realize that during the week, I have to wake up at 4:30 if I want to get in a good, solid morning workout, because along with being anybody in the medical field knows this. Kristen, I'm sure if she ever listens to this, would be like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about. If you ever talk to a medical provider at what time they spend in the clinic, that's like only 75% of the hours you actually work. Most of my time is worrying about documentation, insurance claims, authorizations. Lance is probably cracking up listening to all of this right now. But that's, I mean, you wake up, and Lance, you probably remember this is just to chart the day. Let's see, I'm seeing 16, 17 patients that day or whatever. That's at least 2 hours of documentation outside the time you actually see that patient. That's like hyper-productive 2 hours. So time management becomes important, but I can still get 7.5 hours of sleep, regardless, I think. Unless I want to train
you hit
more.
the nail on the head. It's always like all these people, like I'm the most guilty of anyone. Is like when we don't kind of complain about not having enough time to do something, we're still saying like we're prioritizing something else over whatever it is, whether that's we're prioritizing hanging out with our family over sleep, or prioritizing, our hour Zwift ride versus, like making a video or whatever it is. Like we're all trying to like figure out that balance, and I could prioritize a nap and it would probably make me better in a lot of ways. And so something I should try for sure.
All right, here's a few other things I have questions for you on. These are some different methods or devices that are aimed at helping with recovery. Do you guys use frequent massage, or do you guys use massage therapy?
I don't like people touching my calves.
I have one of those massage guns. I bet some. I mean, well, Evan, you have one somewhere.
Yeah, I do. I use the Theragun
I
Iconic frequently.
I need to like remember to use it more frequently, and I don't think that they're like the highest priority for recovery.
Here's
I'm
my
not going to go pay for a massage.
Yeah,
cheap, man. I'm cheap.
My 2 cents on recovery like items is if it helps you sleep, then it's worthwhile.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's my one thing is if you're in pain. So like Jake would be a good example coming back from his injury. If there was something that we had slapped on his shoulder and was like, man, that makes it feel better, and Jake was able to sleep 2 more hours a night, it's not that the thing we slapped on the shoulder is the direct cause of his recovery, but it's definitely helping along because he's sleeping more.
So you're saying you have something for my shoulder so I can get more than 5 hours of sleep?
I got something I can just slap on there right now.
2.5 years later, I'm still dealing with
the most magical CBD you'll ever see in your entire just super magic CBD
laced with all kinds of fun things. I bet
exactly.
All right, how about the foam roll or the stick? You guys using those?
I used to have Matt, did you ever see the one that all the runners were obsessed with? It was just roller skates that was basically attached to a spring. Was the thing that you just like clamped on your quad.
I actually, I've seen it and I've tested it, but I don't own one of those.
I love one. I used to live with a guy who he was a runner and had one of those, and I loved it. But outside that, no, I've never foam roll.
Well, they say that those are, they're beneficial and they can't take the place of a massage therapist for the cheap people out there that don't want to go see a massage therapist.
Yeah, I still tend to say if you're really looking at recovery, go find a massage therapist you trust.
Yeah.
That's why I say is like if you're looking to buy and like be like, what foam roll program do I need to do? It's like once a week go and find a massage therapist that you like trust and find value in.
Yeah. Lance, do you use any of those things?
I don't get massages. I have a stick in the van that I keep with me. I can't remember the last time I pulled it out.
Gotcha.
So I just don't use them. I do have a set of those knockoff Normatec recovery boots.
That was my next thing. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah. And I do use those after hard efforts, but I don't keep those in the van. So I haven't used them in a couple months because they're at home.
I feel like it's like nice to have, but it's not like something that you're like, it's not critical.
Do you know what one of the funniest things I ever saw? Matt, you'll crack up at this. Actually, Lance, you will too, because you've been in Ironman Villages. I remember once I saw a line for the Normatec boots. This was like before a half. And this is, Cassie always cracks up. I'm the most like just relaxed, but like for me, recovery the day before a race, day or two before a race, is all about try not to stay stressed out. So just joke around a bunch, don't take anything too seriously, make sure you're making jokes all the time, smiling, and stay low stress. There was a guy who was at the very back of this line waiting for Normatec, which means he probably was going to be standing on his feet for like 2-3 hours waiting for this line, to then sit down for 15 minutes to strap these things on to squeeze his legs for a little bit, to then have to stress, go rack his bike, and then go back to the hotel. And him and his training partner or whatever were sitting there yelling at each other over the benefits of Normatec, which I was cracking up at that moment. I told Cassie, I was like, I think they're both really missing the entire thing on recovery right now because these guys look hyper stressed out in this moment. So
that's funny.
That does not surprise me that there was a huge line for Normatec at an Ironman event.
I mean, dude,
at all.
Yeah, it just cracks me up. It's like I just don't understand. Like if you have one at home, that's great. But like if you're gonna stand on your feet to wait for one for 3 hours, you're missing the point of recovery, I think.
Well, and I think maybe the benefits are probably post race, but that's just anyway, I mean,
sleep.
I would never wait in line. No offense to the people that do it, like that's just not something I would do for that particular product. I mean, I know it's a good product, it's an expensive product for sure, but I think they're kind of one of those like this feels nice kind of situations. So
yep, they don't have many conclusive studies or reports on the Normatec stuff, but they do say that it helps you relax, and it says that it does help you marginally with soreness the next day, which will actually help you perform a little bit better, but I don't think there's going to be any performance gains that come from those.
Yeah. So it's a problem with subjective studies.
Yeah. And then the last one would be, do you guys do any kind of like ice baths or cold water treatments?
I take cold showers.
How about you guys?
I used to do ice baths in college, and I think the studies now are saying that there's not a lot of benefits there.
Exactly. That was my point, was going to be that they're slightly better than passive recovery, but it actually could hinder the adaptation to exercise. So it's kind of working against you a little bit, in my opinion. So it's better just to pass on those.
And the other thing that's interesting is, as opposed to like ice baths, is heat. There's some good information on heat and like saunas and things like that, which is, again, something I don't really do. But there's some blood plasma volume. If you look at like studies of blood plasma volume and saunas and things like that. So heat as opposed to ice, there may be some real benefits there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
gotcha.
Yeah. So if you're thinking, which one you're going to choose, pick hot.
Gotcha.
Don't pick cold.
And then the last. Go ahead, Lance.
If you get in a sauna post workout for at least 20 minutes and it's above 140 degrees, you will over time increase your blood plasma volume, which will allow you to go longer, faster. So
good points. And then the last bit would be nutrition, and just wanted to kind of touch on this. We've kind of already alluded to some of that. Is there any kind of a nutritional approach that you guys take once you're done with a workout?
I always do some kind of recovery drink that has a mix of protein and carbohydrates in it to just replenish what I've burned. I try to do that after every ride.
Gotcha. How about you, Matt?
I used to do like protein drinks and stuff like that afterwards. I don't think that, for me, like getting in calories directly after a long, brutal workout, I think is more important than anything else. I don't think you have to get that from a protein drink. I think that, carbs are actually probably pretty critical if you actually look at the data of like carbs versus protein. And I know that there's like, people will say that there's this magical 2/3 combo between those two, but I don't think that the studies really like show that to be the truth. But when I was doing longer stuff, I just liked having something really cold afterwards. So I would make like a kind of like an iced protein smoothie kind of thing, and that just hit the spot. So
good. How about you, Evan? You do a lot of crazy stuff. What are you doing post workout?
Carbs. A lot of carbs. So many carbs.
All the chips.
Yeah, usually it's like pretty instantly right after the like Saturday's a good example, or Sunday's a good example. Usually, if I do like a long ride and then a run after, let's say it was like around 5 hours of training, the very first thing I will do is there's like this nice little Tostitos white cheese, I think, dip that I like, and I will just grab that directly out of the fridge, open it up, and then I will eat chips while I'm thinking about taking a shower. So like even prior to shower, I will take in fat and carbs instantly. Like right away. And then I'll usually chug like, the Arizona teas.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I can drink really fast. So I will just drink an entire Arizona tea within like 30 seconds usually. But yeah, I think we're on the same page. Just like taking stuff right away.
Gotcha. Definitely agree with you on that one. I think that carbs are going to be your most important right afterwards, and hitting carbs within that little, they say the 30-minute window after workout, but it's not like that window just automatically shuts. It just becomes less efficient about absorbing all those carbs and converting back into glycogen to top off your stores. I think getting those carbs, though, is super important. And I think that the nutrition component of it is just as important as anything else. Anything else you guys want to throw out that? No? Cool. Everybody's shaking their head no. It's good for radio. There's so much more we could talk about this, and I think just the nutrition component we could just delve into for hours and whatnot, but maybe something we could chat about a little bit more in the future. But for today, that's enough. Let's get into one last thing. Evan, sticking with the theme of you going first on everything today.
My dad is out in St. Louis right now riding the Katy Trail. If anybody knows what the Katy Trail is, the Katy Trail is a 240-mile like gravel/concrete trail that goes from like the North Texas up through St. Louis and back.
Cool.
It's supposed to be a really, really cool trail in there. I think from what I was just reading actually on Google about it, they're trying to expand it. So my dad's, while he's in St. Louis for a while, going to be randomly doing some of that trail, which is awesome. Yeah, outside of that, who wants to wake up early on Thursday? Lance, I know you're going to be in town. I know that you can take a nap right after that ride. and I really, really want to crush you virtually. So I need you to be at that 4:30 ride. It's a blast. Trust me. It's like
I give it.
It's like
give it
me, Nate Scott.
There's a solid 10% chance I'll be there.
10%. That's actually way more than I thought you were going to give it. Nice.
Okay, 8%.
8%. Good. I'll still take it. Matt, what percentage chance will you be there?
This is Thursday morning at 4:30.
At 4:30, yeah.
I'm gonna go with a 3% chance.
3%. That's 11% total. Jake, what's the percentage?
About 1.3% chance.
We are at almost 13% chance between three people that one of them might show up.
Pretty slim.
I like my odds.
I don't know. Given the way I sleep anymore, I should get up and just join you.
Oh, this would be good if we had the little audio thing from Jim Carrey going, so you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah.
That'd be perfect for that, yeah.
Dumb and Dumber, yep.
We should have a podcast that's purely off of just like trying to plug in old
movie quotes?
90s movie quotes, yeah.
Challenge
Nothing
accepted.
but Ace Ventura. Just a ton of Ace Ventura.
Awesome. Mr. Matt, one last thing.
I did a video this past week, I think, comparing two watches from Polar, the Vantage V2 and the Polar Grit X. Pretty cool video. I tried to do this weird thing where I would like have the watches come in and do a splash intro, and didn't really turn out that great. It didn't turn out as well as I'd hoped it would, but that's the fun part about making these videos is you can try stuff and you can try to make it cinematic, and if it doesn't work, you just put it out there anyway. So yeah, you guys should definitely check that video out, especially if you're not super familiar with like Polar's offerings, just so you can be more familiar with their product line. And then more videos to come for sure. I have the new bike video kind of I need to work on that potentially this week. And then a whole bunch of stuff kind of at the end of the year. I'm looking at like top 3 favorite products from the year. I'm going to do some more giveaways. I have a whole bunch of stuff to give away. So a lot of fun stuff to check out if you check out my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/MLegrand. Get on it, jump on it, hit the subscribe button, and notify yourself of all the important stuff.
And smash the like button.
Smash it.
Smash that like button.
Talking to you, Lance. Get on it, man. Subscribe.
I'm a subscriber and
get the notification. Do the notification bell.
Yeah, I do that. I'm all love about you, Matt.
Matt, I'm going to be honest. I don't do the notification bell. Here's the main reason I don't.
You don't even like watch it logged in. You need to figure out your password. And you need to log in.
First off, all of my YouTube stuff is Cassie's. So if you ever see Cassie commenting on anything, it's probably me commenting on it. But reason I don't do
I'll take that.
The notification bell's a little bit too much. I don't want you telling me when to watch things, basically. Okay.
Okay. Once a week, Evan.
I know, but
once a week.
But I put aside Matt's videos for when I want to watch them. I don't want you telling me when I need to watch the video.
No, you need to watch them now, Evan.
This bell says watch this video right now.
That's fair. I'll take that. As long as you're watching them.
I also like them.
Gotcha. Yep. One last thing, bud.
Just one more big happy birthday shout out to Jake Von During. Just super thankful that you put this little podcast together and get the 4 of us together every week. And it's certainly a highlight of my week. And just thank you for continuing to do this stuff.
We're over 2 years now, right? Where are we at?
Like 2.5 years.
It's like 2.5 years because 150 is coming up soon.
Yeah.
One every week for one.
We've only done this 143 times, so we're just.
Oh my, that's like 3 years is coming up.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
That's a long. I'm getting old, like on this podcast.
Yep.
By the time I'm like done with this podcast, I'll be like in my 70s or something like that. And
you want to hear something really funny?
Lance will for sure not be around by then.
You want to hear something really funny?
Lake will have to take Lance's place.
If you want to hear something funny, go back and listen to the first one.
I need to.
It's
been a long time since I heard the first one.
That was funny. Yeah, and what's funny about that podcast is that
was that just you, me, and Matt?
Yeah. That was pre-Lance. Lance joined us, I think, on episode 4. Was it? Lance?
Yeah.
I think it was 3 or 4.
Lance is still brand new to me.
Yeah. So the first one we did, it was supposed to be the 3 of us sitting down and just kind of practicing because we didn't know what we were doing. I didn't know what half the buttons were and all that other stuff. We were just sitting down and practicing. We just started talking and we finished like, let's roll with that.
Let's post that.
Yeah, let's post it.
Let's make that one the first one.
That was fun.
Yeah,
Cool.
we're still testing out to see if we want to keep Lance on.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we start calling Lance the intern since he was episode 4? It's like, is the intern still here? God, when is he going to move on? Is he going to find a job soon? We haven't paid him once. Oh, I forgot to mention that to you, Lance. You need to be here 5 years before your paychecks start coming in for the podcast.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for that, Lance. I appreciate it.
You bet.
My one last thing, and I'm not trying to be a copycat to Matt, but we have a little YouTube channel now. Myself and Lance have been working on this thing. We hit 100 subscribers over the weekend, you guys. So we can now officially say you can go to youtube.com/Dialed Cycling.
Nice.
To check out the Dialed Cycling channel.
When you hit 100, do you get like an email from YouTube or something? Or is there like...
No, it was like womp, womp, womp. You know, it was,
oh, man. Yeah.
You had to go in there and just like,
you're
able to
mark,
you can activate your whole like personalized URL. So before that, we were just a bunch of numbers and characters and whatnot.
Nice.
So now we have a
real URL.
Full-on real URL. And then we are about ready to post our latest and greatest, which will be out later on today or maybe this evening, depending upon how long it takes to render. But it will be the Essentials of Road Biking, which will finish up our little Essentials series. And the premise behind this was there are so many people that are new to cycling, and we just wanted to kind of go through the essentials of gravel riding, the essentials of mountain biking, and the essentials of road riding. So that's going to be the one that comes out next is the road riding one. Maybe we'll have to have you and Matt come on for the essentials of triathlon or something like that.
Of triathloning.
Yeah.
There you go.
But that will be out this afternoon or evening, and check it out. And if you haven't subscribed, consider doing so, or get on there and ridicule us and poke fun at us and tell us how bad the videos are, which I don't care because we're having fun, which is all.
Yes, we are having fun.
Yeah. All right. We really appreciate everybody listening. Go check us out on Patreon and YouTube, and if you have any questions, hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/Dialed Podcast. And we appreciate you listening. Again, we'll see you next week. Bye for now.